Was it because that is what happens in the comics, and therefore that is what needs to happen in the show? Isn't it just another remix that maybe did not work so well?
Yeah.
I don't know that just because our expectations were subverted, we are allowed to be so upset as viewers. Sometimes this is a good thing, honestly. Again, I did not love it, but it is one moment and certainly not divisive enough to make me stop watching the show. If I don't like the show as a whole, I will stop watching the show, but I'm not there. It is a sad fact. It is sad that the fact that this was a pretty good episode gets lost in the shuffle as well. And again, this is all coming from someone who didn't like the fact that they hid the reveal. I don't know. Maybe I just feel bad for Kirkman and Gimple because I do think they care about the fans and think they are making a good show. To me, it has nothing to do with it needing to happen because it happened in the comics. I couldn't give a shit how it happens in comics. It's all about that moment and the emotional aspect of it being undermined. The power of it being undermined by not showing who gets the bat, and really the entire build-up, the entire episode being undermined by it.
Yeah, what you're saying is the nuts and bolts of storytelling dictate that it should have gone down this way.
I think so.
And I don't think you can... That's the thing, like... You can't argue with what the nuts and bolts of storytelling are, okay? You can
play fast and loose with
You
those,
can
but...
flout the conventions, but then the conversation becomes, did it work?
Right.
And here it's like, I feel like there's a lot of people trying to argue both sides of this, that... Well, it didn't have to go down this way, so it could happen anyway, and then what's their complaint about? Well, no, like, it's one...
Fundamental problems with the storytelling.
Yeah, visual storytelling has rules that have been laid down over the last century.
And they're not based on nothing. I mean, they're based on the human
they're
condition, right?
Like if you want to go back to like Greek tragedies and comedies, it's been something that we've been crafting for thousands of years, this way to tell a story, and you can flaunt those conventions and play with them and get interesting effects, but again, the answer is always, did it work? In this case, I think the vast majority of people would agree that it did not. And that's the thing. Like, and there's another one. It's like there's a lot of hand waving in this. It's like, well, it's just another remix. Well, I mean, like I can pat you on the shoulder, I can kick you in the balls. Those are both physical acts of touching, but they have a lot of, a big difference in how they impact the target. So, like, I don't know. That is a lot of double talk and circular arguing. I would interject.
Okay,
and there might be a lot of sympathy, and it's probably rooted in the sympathy for Gimple. Which,
sure,
hey man, I feel for the dude. No one wants to make a bummer of a show.
No, and then have to go on national TV and defend it.
Yeah, I don't like making bummers of podcasts. It sucks.
Yep. Moji from Connecticut has some levity here. I have a theory on why the producers have been fading to black at the end of the last two episodes. Because they did it after Daryl was shot, and they did it on this one. I think it's an elaborate scheme that will increase the fade over the next season. Eventually, they will run a completely black episode, which will allow them to not only save on production, but more importantly, to roll out the next spinoff, The Walking Dead Radio Hour. If so, would you consider podcasting it? Yeah, I would. Sure,
why not?
Totally would.
That's like, I wonder what We're Still Alive, is it We're Still Alive?
We're alive. Yeah.
We're alive? They might file some kind of injunction. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Different story.
That's
zombies.
True.
They don't own zombies.
That's true.
Nobody
or
does.
Radio dramas or anything like that.
Someone might have, if Romero had remembered to sweat his production company a little bit more, or his distributor a little more. Christina says, I was listening to your podcast and had a thought. The Walking Dead trailer for Comic-Con. What if they do kind of like what they did for the mid-season premiere and reveal who died then? For example, a brief clip of two characters talking about how horrid it was that dead person died during the trailer. This would allow them the ability to avoid having to show the gruesome details of the character death and start the new season off without having to backtrack and try and win back some fans. Thoughts?
Well, Gimple, I think, or maybe it's Nicotero, went on record that says the beginning is because we had a whole bunch of jokes like, oh, now it's time for the 3-episode Carol and Morgan Roadshow as they go off to Horseland and fight and get medicine and aid, which would be, that's, I don't think that's being mean. That's actually just trying to brace for impact, okay? Mm-hmm. But they've, high level of people in the show, I don't remember which one, I've gone on record saying the very first scene of season 7 is going to be the resolution to this matter, and it's going to be graphic, and it's going to be what we're waiting for. So walking that back and revealing this stuff during a trailer is like, that's the worst case scenario. Because there's one thing if this shit gets leaked out and it gets spoiled for you that way.
That's not
but
on them.
if the company does it themselves, like, really, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
Matt from New York City.
We need to get
New York. Sorry,
we need to get the whole crew on Dr. Phil. Have him get him on the couch and just individually ask them what they were thinking.
Have a tearful breakdown.
Are you out of your mind?
Matt in New York says, you mentioned on your previous cast that the blame for the ending may fall with AMC executives and not the creative staff of The Walking Dead. This is certainly possible, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, I seem to recall AMC corporate being very hands-off with Mad Men and Breaking Bad. Of course, those aren't the cash cows that The Walking Dead is, and no one could argue that they are hands-on with The Walking Dead, so they can actually be hands-off on more objectively superior shows, but it still seems so inconsistent. Am I wrong in my belief as to how they treated those shows? Yeah, this is something that a lot of people wrote in about, and I wanted to clear up some misconceptions, because Breaking Bad and Mad Men are not AMC shows.
Nope.
They are distributed. They are aired by AMC, the network. They are created. Well, Breaking Bad is created by Sony. Who's Mad Men?
I don't know.
I don't know the studio that made Mad Men, but it wasn't AMC's studios.
It might have been Sony too, because there was some talk about. No, never mind. I'm getting my.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but regardless, both of those shows are not AMC owned shows.
They were shows that the AMC purchased and negotiated for the rights to distribute.
Right.
But they were not, they were not
shows.
AMC studios in the way that The Walking Dead is.
Right. AMC wholly owns all, well, they did some magic, some hand-wavy loophole shit to sell the rights for cheaper to themselves, take some tax credits or something. So they are like, AMC Studios has made the show, and then AMC, the network, is like licensing it from their subsidiary company.
But it's
real weird. But they own the whole operation.
Yeah.
And also, AMC wanted, like, there was a lot of wrangling over Breaking Bad's final season.
Yep.
They wanted 8 episodes, and they were like, no, we need 12 to do this. And Sony threatened to shop it around to other networks.
Sure.
They were like, we're going to take this to HBO, we're going to take this to other places, and eventually they decided on...
Which that would have never happened. That would have been a lawsuit from hell, and we'd have never gotten a final season. But that's the leverage they had because AMC didn't own them.
Exactly. So instead, they did the 2 8-episode chunks. They said,
Yes.
okay, we'll space it over X amount of time.
Yes.
And so his other comment on this... also, The Walking Dead is surely not golden age of television, Alan Sepinwall level TV, but I think its base premise to fall of civilization and the reactions there too, if executed way better, could have led to it being on a level close to a Breaking Bad. Why did they choose The Walking Dead then as a sacrificial lamb, choosing bottom line over creativity? Is it because it went off the rails so early in its run? Because they recognized that their ever-changing creative staff couldn't hold a candle to Weiner or Gilligan? Weiner or Gilligan. I think these writers are just clueless and trapped in their own bubble echo chamber that they actually think what they're doing is good. Puke City. But I'll be back in October. That's the funny part. So after season 1, I mean, AMC's actively doing this to themselves. Like, don't make any mistakes about whether or not this show is being directed by AMC, the network. Mm-hmm. Like, after season 1, there were a whole bunch of budget cuts. They lengthened the season. They essentially drove away all their creative talent.
And that's what Darabont said. It's like, you want me to do more episodes for less money.
And you're going to pocket tax credits that we're now getting and like all of this shit.
Yeah. And that was back when they were only getting 6 million people watching it, before it was super endorsed. No, this show could... I don't think anyone, like Sepinwall or anyone, said that this show couldn't be a boutique, critical darling hit. And it was on that trajectory. Like, imagine if... Season 1 of The Walking Dead made like the sophomore jump and improved, and like, kind of like Breaking Bad, like, oh, that's pretty good, and then season 2 is really good, and season 3 is amazing. I mean, I weep when I think about what the show would have been like if they kept the Darabont crew around. I mean, and I've heard lots of different things. Whether it was, some people want to say it was like an ego battle between Darabont and Kirkman. I think it's probably more being squeezed by executives at AMC,
by the money people. Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. Like,
and I don't know, maybe if Kirkman had gotten solidarity behind Darabont and been like, "No, we need, this is what we got to do." Maybe he was. I don't know, and I've gotten more of the story as the years gone by, but I don't feel like I got this whole story.
Yeah.
But bottom line is they are owned by AMC in a much tighter, more real way than any other show that you can compare to the quote unquote golden age.
Yeah. Brett F. in Hawaii says, while watching that clean end of a turd finale, I kept thinking about the unnamed savior who keeps trapping Rick and his crew, that Steve Ogg guy. Seems so familiar to me, then it dawned on me he's Doug Stamper from House of Cards. Think about it, 2 guys from the D.C., Alexandria, Virginia area know a thing or two about plotting and scheming and work for maniacal overlords. On that note, what character from other shows would you like to see appear on The Walking Dead? I know the top of my list would be Boyd Crowder and the Hound Sandor Clegane. Can you imagine like the wrecking ball that the Hound would be, the hell that he would wrought upon this universe?
Never fired a gun.
Right, but I don't think that would matter, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, full plate armor, he's not going to get, forget. You just send him into the zombies, and he'll take a whole herd down by himself.
I think it'd be amazing.
I like Boyd Crowder. How about Frank Castle?
Oh,
the Punisher
man.
from this season of Netflix or Daredevil.
How does that work? Shane and
it's just a new character,
Frank
man.
Castle in
It
the
happens.
same universe.
It happens.
Okay.
That would be pretty sweet. Lucas Hood from Banshee would be a interesting character because he's got many specialties and he's ruthless, and that would be pretty sweet. You got any other ideas?
MacGyver. Iron Man. I don't know.
We did
Yeah.
like in the early
Mel
days
Gibson.
of Bald Move. I can't remember what episode, but one of our Blue Yonders, we did a zombie survival draft where the 3 hosts at the time, me, you, and Peter Street, chose 7 people from all of fiction to be our perfect zombie survival group, and you start bringing in like the Iron Mans and the Boba Fetts, and
the only caveat was no
Solos.
superpowers. Right?
Yeah.
They had to be
No
human.
androids, cyborgs,
Yeah.
aliens, or superheroes. But there was a lot of loopholes. Like Iron Man's not super heroic; he just has his signature equipment. So
Right.
anyway,
All right. David says, my question for you, is this still a zombie show? The zombies are so pathetic and just an afterthought. Do you see them making any kind of comeback where they are actually the true threat again? Also, were the zombies more formidable in the comics? I think the zombie threat is largely over. I think the last gasp of the zombies was that herd we saw at the end/beginning of the mid-season.
well, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of like I guess their threat level is essentially baseline crazy wild animals. Like if you're in the middle of the jungle, you always have to watch your back for tigers and stuff.
yeah.
But as far as them being the existential threat, I don't know. I mean, I can't say a lot because I've read the comics way past where we're at in the show. So
Yeah, I think in the comics, basically, up to where we are now, it's been roughly the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the same events have happened with the zombies. So, man, we still have a lot of emails to go here. Let's talk about the writing for a little bit. Ashley says, after listening to your podcast on the finale, I've come around to the idea that this cliffhanger wasn't necessarily a decision from Gimple or Kirkman. Despite what I may think about Scott as a showrunner, I've always thought he was a gifted storyteller, and this is simply not good storytelling. So it is a bit hard to believe that he'd be behind this. I wonder the same thing about the mid-season finale. For instance, I thought most of Season 4 was pretty great, but the finales in particular, Too Far Gone and A, were perfect ends to their arcs, and they got me really excited about Scott taking over. So to see this decline in his work has been strange, and it feels as though Kirkman hasn't been as involved this season since he has so many other projects, and this is the first season where he didn't write any episodes. So I wonder if that has something to do with it, on top of what seems to be a lot of network interference. Aside from that, I had a question. Actually, let's move on to Scott V, because he has a counterpoint here.
okay.
About the writing. He says, stop making excuses for Gimple and Kirkman.
This is the one I was thinking of.
Okay. There's no way their shitty story decisions are made by AMC execs. It's all them. Remember when Carol was banished? All I could think was how excited I was to see Rick tell Daryl, because I knew Daryl was going to be pissed. Then we got 3 or 4 fucking episodes about the governor. Remember the Glenn bullshit? He falls off a dumpster, and there's a herd bearing down in Alexandria. So what follows? An extra long episode about Teenage Mutant Ninja Morgan. They know how to build anticipation. They just don't know how to pay it off. So point, counterpoint on the writing. I do agree that Scott Gimple has been part of many episodes that I've liked. and I don't know that I had a big problem with his writing. But I mean, since he has taken over, there have been some big fiascos.
Yep.
It's not like he's been innocent and he's corrected everything that Mazzara fucked up. Like, that's not the case. It's kind of continued into Scott's overseen seasons.
Well,
so.
I do think that I prefer much the Gimple era to the Mazzara era because there's been, right or wrong, there has been an emphasis on character, which is what makes the engine work. But I mean, do we really want to do a meta psychological and career analysis of Gimple? Because I could do it.
I just don't think we have the perspective on it. But those are both very good points.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there is a good counterpoint there that I just wanted to bring up and let the audience decide.
That's the other thing is, like, I don't. There's some people that are crazy talented and driven, and there's different ways that can manifest it. Like, you get the Vince Gilligan where he is a calm, friendly, positive guy, and he chooses to hire people that are calm, friendly, and then you've got like the Matthew Weiners who are more intense and driven, and then you got the yellers and screamers. There's all kinds of ways you can manifest greatness. But the other possibility is that Scott Gimple was a really good writer for episodic television that got promoted to running a show, and his ceiling maybe wasn't ever that high. And there's also that's always the argument about taking high schoolers and putting them on and skipping college and going and right into professional ball, is that they might not ever live up to the potential they had, because instead of being taught and trained and allowed to hone their game, they are instantly thrown to the wolves, and all the bad habits that they've leaned into to be the great players, they lean into it anymore, so that artificially limits their abilities. So I wonder if it's a case where maybe if Gimple had been able to get on a long run under a successful, stable showrunner, that, when he went off on his own to a new show, he would have been a genius. Or has this experience stunted his growth? Or was his capacity for greatness not that great to begin with?
Okay.
And is he if he listens to this podcast, is this the point where he just starts weeping? I don't know.
Or he gets pissed and
sure
calls us up for an interview.
But I'm saying, straight. I don't know what value this kind of conversation has.
Right. This is the worst of the armchair psychologist stuff. It's ridiculous. We have no insight into this, so I don't know. But I wanted to let our audience have a voice on that. Scott V also goes on with maybe another super understated point here. I didn't like the first-person POV shot for the kill, and here is why.
Okay.
On Talking Dead, Kirkman or Gimple said this season is about Rick. It's about Rick. I have liked his overconfidence and have been waiting for him to learn this lesson. So I was trying to think of how I would have shot the head-bashing scene. I would have done a tight close-up, I would have done a tight close-up on Rick, filled the frame with his face while we hear the bat hit over and over. What is on his face? Are his eyes closed? Is he watching? Are there tears? Does he look angry or afraid? My God, they missed an awesome character moment for the hero of this fucking show. I suppose that, if they were going to do the cliffhanger and not show us, there were better ways than that first-person POV, which really feels like a nothing play, right?
Yeah. No, there's
not even showing the emotional reaction of characters around us is...
There are so many ways they could have, if it was just about it being graphic, which they've said it's not, there's so many ways they could have done it. And I also think that just because the season is quote-unquote about Rick doesn't mean that he's the only reaction we need to see. Like, the story is clearly, this season has been all about Rick. He's been the A-list, and it's about his rise to power, or I don't know what you'd call it. His generalissimo routine and his overconfidence and how that blinded him to, caution and reason. And I don't know. There's a million different ways to do the same. Like if the concern is the violence or if the concern is emotional, there's a lot of things you could do to address that. I don't think that any of those responses are to do it first person. They did that because it's cheap heat, and eventually, if they keep doing it, it's going to burn them, and people are going to not watch the show in the numbers that they do. And that's already happening because they've lost about 25% of their audience from the peak. So that will accelerate and continue to... I'm really curious to see what this audience comes back to in October, because it seems like there was a lot of people that are like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah. I don't know. Also, a lot of people, as I kind of look through some of the emails that I can't read for time here, because we still have a shitload to go. A lot of people are comparing this to other shows, right? Like Lost. Lost had a shitload of cliffhangers. A lot of people compare it to Breaking Bad, which doesn't make sense to me. Breaking Bad never had these season finale cliffhangers ever, period.
Well, season 3 is the closest thing you can, but that
was not intended to be a cliffhanger. Vince Gilligan came out and said, this is not a cliffhanger. Here's the definitive take on it.
But what I'm saying is that is as close as you can get because you had an action and then you didn't see the immediate repercussions. But that's the best way to do a cliffhanger if you got to do one.
But it wasn't a cliffhanger. Like, I knew it wasn't a cliffhanger. Many of the audience did. I don't know why it was ever considered a cliffhanger.
It's inarguably a cliffhanger.
No, it's not.
Okay, how do you define a cliffhanger?
Something where you don't know what just happened. You're not sure of what actually happened.
No, because a hero hanging off of a cliff is literally a cliffhanger, and you know exactly what's happening. But is he's going to fall or what's going to happen next is the cliffhanger.
No, so I don't want to talk too spoilery about this, but if he had not actually done what he did, but threatened to do what he was going to do at the end of season 3, that would have been a cliffhanger. As it stands, if you believe, the camera angle was bad. If you believe that Vince Gilligan did not intend for that camera angle to suggest anything, that is not a cliffhanger. The action has been committed to, right? Now you're dealing with the repercussions.
I don't know. To me, a cliffhanger is anytime a main character is in a predicament or has been confronted with something shocking. And season 3, because to not be a cliffhanger, they'd have to have another 30 minutes of, okay, here's Walt and Jesse talking about what they're going to do next and all that stuff. Like, it's I don't know.
It's definitely not a cliffhanger in the way that this is a cliffhanger, regardless of what you think. They showed us the resolution. Yeah, no,
I'm not going to argue that this is a different type of cliffhanger and it's a shittily executed one, but I do think that season 3 is the closest you can get. But again, it's the difference between what happened and now the buzz is what the fuck is going to happen next, not what the hell is going to happen, who's going to happen to, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the other thing I would make a distinction between is season finale cliffhangers and mid-season cliffhangers. Not like mid-season finale cliffhangers, which is this new phenomenon, but like episode 3 to episode 4 cliffhangers, right? That's not nearly as big of a deal. They're in the process of telling that story.
There's a lot more patience for that kind of bullshit than there is. Although what I've seen in our coverage of Daredevil is it seems like in the binge model, people don't like that. Like there's less tolerance when it's like, God damn, it's the end of every episode. It's like I felt like there was impatience because you get just like cliffhanger overload. Whereas, okay, well, I just have to wait. I can't wait for next week. It's a different kind of feel. And I think that's one of the interesting things is to see how the binge model impacts storytelling. Because right now we're in a phase where like anything good the show's doing, it's all because it's the binge model, and anything bad the show's doing is because, well, you don't understand it because it's supposed to be the binge and we're just still stuck on terrestrial television. I don't know how all that shakes out, but it does feel like that there are some things that work better in one format than the other.
Yeah, I agree. And I can also see why cliffhangers would be more important for binge watching too, because it propels you into the next episode. It makes you go, well, I can see what happens right now. And to me, that's not as egregious. Like if the material is available immediately for consumption, then I don't care if it's a cliffhanger.
Because I feel like that there is the fatigue I feel is quite literal when it's 2:00 in the morning and they've just hit me with the third cliffhanger and I want to watch, but I just can't. Like, you gotta.
That's on you. Don't start watching at midnight, man.
There's a particular type of rhythm I think you can fall into where, I don't know. It's kind of
totally.
Like we're discovering. Like it seems like 3 episodes is a natural binge.
Okay, I don't know if that sounds about right.
I don't know if that's because that's how many would fit on a DVD. So we kind of subconsciously trained ourselves that a binge is like a
I think it's how many fit into an evening for people. Like if you're a reasonable person with a life outside of podcasting and television, which we are not.
Sure.
3 episodes seems like a reasonable amount over the course of a couple days to get in.
Well, I like my DVD theory, so there.
Okay. I'm going to go on to... We still had a bunch, but I'm going to go on to the predictions on who it is and the theorization on hashtag who is it. Anthony P. says, a radical theory that they kill Carl. Okay, stick with me here because I immediately excluded Carl based on the line of dialogue about feeding his eye to his father. But really, read that line. Anybody moves, anybody says anything, cut the boy's other eye out and feed it to his father. Then we'll start. That can be interpreted as Negan threatening to torture the boy, then go ahead and still murder him despite the protestations of everyone there. Granted, the big plot hole is, how does Rick ever find it within himself to hold back from taking revenge right there and then, if it means instant death? But boy, would that death light everyone's hair on fire. Yeah, I think you're trying to read a little too much into it, Anthony P.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's a little bit of a tortured read of the dialogue.
Yeah,
to where
there's
I think
intention there, and
the average person would feel like they got fucked over if that's. But I mean,
right, and that's my general problem with all of this dissection, like
yes,
really granular dialogue stuff. Is if they did that, if that's truly their intention, it's so obfuscated that I think people would feel ripped off again. And holy shit,
which means that's what they're going to do.
You're right. You're right. Jason in Kansas City. I too did not like the POV faded black ending.
All right.
Really, the understated. I love the undersell on the opening lines. My prediction on the finale: in the first scene, as well as the scenes that follow, we are shown a POV from inside the box. That person looks to be the person who is closest to the opening. Who's the first one out of the box? Daryl. To use POV throughout the show and end on a POV, I believe we are seeing it from the same person's perspective. I think Daryl is the character that will be murdered by Negan Lucille. What do you think about that?
Well, I've been on
that justification.
I've been on the murder Daryl train for a long time.
Yep, and some of these I included just because of that.
The more I think about it, how do we know that I called it Daryl Cam,
right?
Because you can hear him kind of moaning in the background, but you could also hear Glenn at some point. Like, why do we think that that's his point of view?
Well, I mean,
is he the first one out? And
yeah,
he's
the first one out, and the POV looks to be the closest to the door, the holes.
That's true, unless they're looking out the side of the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there's some contradicting evidence here.
Did they come out of the RV or did they come out of some other place?
I want to say they came out of a van. I mean, they wouldn't have...
Okay, so they didn't come out of the RV. Well, I didn't think so, but I'm like, they did have a conspicuous scene of Rick looking at the bullet holes in the RV.
Maybe they did.
It could be that that was showing their perspective of being like hogtied in the bottom of that RV, and they could see the light shining through the bullet holes.
Yeah,
and then that kind of thematically, but I didn't think they came from the RV, so I think that's wrong.
Does Negan come from the RV?
Negan definitely comes from the RV.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, I'm not sure where they came from. Kurt, I'm in agreement with the majority of the feedback in reference to the ending of the finale. I will say that something interesting struck me about after thinking about the Who question last cast, as a listener wrote in about the Eugene scene and how it made no sense to focus attention on him like a hero on a mission, possibly risking his life, only to be right there captured in line with the others afterwards. If you remember back, Eugene talks to Rick as well as Abraham, only their talk has much more significance. He gives him a recipe for making bullets. This struck me because that is certainly a leading act to foreshadow his possible death. Maybe too obvious, but it stuck with me. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure exactly the point being made.
Well, he's saying that because Eugene has kind of, had, the Walking Dead death moment where he's had a big emotional moment with these characters, and the fact that he gave away his most valuable information to Rick, he's now expendable.
Well, sure, but that's an argument for not doing it.
I suppose so.
Because I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that the writers' room has conversations like when they're talking about killing someone, sustainability of the character versus the popularity of the character, and what the audience. I mean, do they consider the audience feelings at all? They have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Or else what the hell are they doing? So if they come and do the math and they decide that Eugene gets the bat. Because I could see them arguing in like, well, think of all the character development he's gotten. He's kind of a badass. He's got a ponytail now, and
that's what Kurt's saying. You can basically see the stepping stones, the breadcrumbs leading to Eugene.
That would be such a horrible misjudge of the audience's temperament and what they want and what they need emotionally. But that is exactly what they've been doing for years now. That's the same mistake they made to Glenn, so why wouldn't they do it again?
Right. An email I'm sure you'll love, the speculation. wondering if his contract might finally be up for renewal. Nat says, I just listened to the finale cast, fully agree with everything covered. You mentioned that if there was word of Norman Reedus starting a big movie or show, it would be an indication that that he suffered the fate of the bat. Did you see the commercials for the new show called Ride with Norman Reedus throughout the finale's breaks? As soon as I saw that, I wrote Daryl off as fucked long before we even got to the Negan scene. How do you feel about that?
Well, see, that show was announced almost 2 years ago, and I think it's already fully shot and produced. So he did that in the off season. And
season 2, he might have to.
I don't know. That's not the kind of like scripted drama is what I'm on the lookout for.
Right. Yeah, there have been comments from Andrew Lincoln talking about how this show basically takes up all of his time, and like he can't do any other projects because of it, and like wondering if maybe he wants out, but. I know we had an email about that somewhere.
He said that on record?
Yeah, I think there was
an
interview with him and also an interview with Chandler Riggs, who says similar things about, like, if Andrew Lincoln's out, I'm probably out. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they got to be close to renewing his contract. Yeah, so this could be... this could be a little bit of grist for the mill. Because, this it's all about leverage, right? Making deals. So having your stars talk about and having them show solidarity about leaving and having it on fan groups and people are saying, oh my God, we shit our pants. Like that's extra zeros on his contract. Yeah. But I honestly feel bad for stars that get pigeonholed on shows and they spend a decade of their life and then they come out and like what else, what could they have been doing in their primes and now they're doing this. And on the other hand,
like The Rock, for instance.
Well, a lot of that's self-inflicted, but no, yeah. I mean, you just, on the other hand, they're wealthy and they're famous and
now they can pick projects they want to do.
Sure.
Although I think Andrew Lincoln could have anyway.
Right. Well, but it's like the David Duchovny. Like, why isn't he a bigger star? Or Gillian Anderson? I mean, and I know, like, yeah, he's done the Showtime stuff, and he's had some movies here and there. But when it's like, oh, how hard is it going to be to get David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson together for another season of X-Files? I'm like, how hard is it? Really? Are people beating the door? Do they just not care?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people don't care that much.
I mean, that's the thing. If I ever scrape my hands around like a few $1 million, you'll never get me to work again. So it's like, right. I mean, but you never hear of like actors just like, woo, signed a big check and I'm done with my project. Fuck everybody. I'm going to my private island.
Yeah. I mean, you hear of people like, who is it? Claire Danes did that. She didn't go to a private island. She went to college.
Well, same.
But
Natalie
like she
Portman.
kind of fucked off for a while.
Same with Natalie Portman. Harrison Ford's kind of like that. It's like, I just want to be on my ranch with my cows and rescue people in my helicopter. Leave me alone. So yeah, it happens.
I feel like that's what I would be like if I were rich and famous. I would be like, you know what? I'm done with this. I've made my millions. I'm out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have no desire for the limelight like a lot of people do. Steph has a couple of things here. She wants to talk about whether or not the cast knows. After seeing the ending, I felt duped not just by AMC, but by the cast and their wild stories that reading the script made them throw up and unable to go to work on time, etc. Now I can think of only one reasonable explanation: contract negotiations. I think the cast does truly not know who was the recipient of the head bashing, and neither do the writers. That is enough to make you want to throw up, knowing it could be anyone, even you. What do you think about that idea? That they haven't even written a script for that. We start filming real soon.
I find that hard to believe, but it's like I don't begrudge them the games they play.
Okay.
I mean, but you gotta. The only thing that annoys it's like if I don't know because you're always dealing with different people's experience level and ages and all that stuff, but you just gotta understand that everything you see in print that an actor or an actress or a director or a writer says is you gotta consider that it's a carefully calculated statement to, number one, not get them in trouble, and number two, to engage with the audience. Okay, so it's like every once in a while you'll get a show creator, an actor that's lost his damn mind and will say like the truth, but most often they will lie to you. Mm-hmm. They will tell gross, blatant lies.
Yeah,
and that's why it's like I don't feel like it's super interesting to talk to them a lot of times.
And number 3, I mean, personal gain is also in there, right? Like, they want to further their careers.
Sure.
They want to do everything right. And it is a shame. Like, I'm not saying it's happening here, but it is a shame when that stuff makes it onto the screen and affects what the audience sees. And I think if that's happening here, it's unfortunate.
But I could buy that they don't have, and I mean, I said my most cynical, I wonder if some of this not knowing is more of them like, let's spend a couple weeks browsing Reddit and social media and see like do some analysis trends about who would be the most devastating, and we put this in some kind of bean counter formula where we're like, we'll lose X audience if we do this, but we'll retain this, and it's just a purely mercantile decision, which would make a part of me whimper and die. But I am just cynical enough to consider that they are doing that.
Sure. A lot of people going with this POV thing. She continues here. After speculating for almost the entire season already, here comes some more. The final episode opened with Daryl Vision, and it was weird and inexplicable. However, it reminded me of the Tyrese episode in which all of those visions had a meaning at the end. They showed this Daryl Vision multiple times throughout the episode. We later learned that it's the POV of someone in the truck, either Daryl, Glenn, Michonne, or Rosita. So they start with the first-person POV in the truck. They end with the first-person POV with the bat. Has to be someone in the truck. If you... I'm going to skip that line because it's spoilery.
Okay.
But she's saying it either has to be Glenn or Daryl. And her money's on Glenn because Daryl's hurt. What do you think about the idea that... We've kind of talked about the POV thing, but... Do you think Negan would choose to kill someone who's already hurt, given how he looks at Maggie in this and says, "Oh, you look like shit," and you're on your way out, or whatnot?
I don't think he did that to dismiss the idea of killing her. I think he was just...
You don't think so?
No, I think he was just casually insulting her.
I don't think it's as impactful if he beats to death someone who's already like bleeding on the floor.
Is Daryl actively bleeding on the floor? He seems fine.
He just got shot. He's probably bleeding on the floor.
But what I'm saying is, like, I
know he's going to be fine.
I mean, if somebody was like literally on death's door, that's like a mercy killing, sure, but I don't think anybody in this group meets that criteria. So
okay.
I know. I honestly think it's going to be Abraham, Glenn, or Daryl.
Okay. Let's move on to Jackie. She says,
because I'm not cynical enough to think that they would do it to Eugene. Okay. Because like that would just be like burr, burr.
A wet fart of a kill.
Yup.
Jackie says, I sort of don't want to give the Walking Dead folks the satisfaction of attempting to Zapruder their stupid cliffhanger, but whoops, I've already done it and the results are below. My first point has been made by others, but I'll recap it here. After he's picked out his victim, but before he takes the first swing, Negan tells his people anybody moves, anybody says anything, cut out his eye and feed it to his father. This would seem to exclude both Rick and Carl from the list of suspects, and it makes sense. Negan already identified Rick as the group's leader, the person he's trying to force into making a deal. It's unlikely that he thinks he can get any sort of cooperation out of a man after beating his son to death in front of him. I think that's a good point. Yep. I think Rick and Carl are both super safe here.
Yep.
Second telling statement comes after the first swing. With delighted surprise on his face, Negan exclaims, "Oh, look at that. Taking it like a champ." I think there's two things to note about this.
I thought he said he took it like a champ.
Okay. First, there's the use of the traditionally masculine nickname champ. Of course, women can be champions too. I'm arguing that Negan, with his hyper-macho alpha dog posturing, would only use champ to patronize another man.
I feel like it's... Nah. Okay. Take it like a champ. It does. You're not pausing to be like... Oh, it's a physical
but you also think he said he took it like a champ.
Yeah, I definitely think the masculine pronoun he is descriptive, but champ is like...
So if he says he, let's continue down this road. This excludes Maggie, Michonne, Rosita, and Sasha. So you think for a different reason, but
I thought
you're still on board with the basic
thought he said
premise.
Yeah.
Okay. Second implication is packed into Negan's expression of surprise. This is clearly a person he wasn't expecting to be tough. Of the people left in the running, I think this excludes Daryl and Abraham. From this, I can conclude that the only possible victims are Aaron, Eugene, or Glenn. Because I'm a giant nerd, I've arranged the whole thing in a matrix table below for your convenience. Which, yeah, she certainly did.
This is what
we have a whole matrix,
do
you buy
all
that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And
that he wasn't expecting this person to be able to take a baseball bat to the head.
Well, no.
Is that because a human being usually can't?
That's the one I least think is telling.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, you know, I smack someone in the head with a Louisville Slugger. I don't care if it's Arnold Schwarzenegger
right.
or Terry Crews
I expect him
or
to go
Bill
down.
Gates. I expect them to go down. And if they don't, if they somehow fight through it, that would be impressive.
Okay.
God, I sound like a monster on a regular basis on this show.
When I beat people with bats,
If I ever
down.
run for politics, which will never happen because of these reasons, the amount of sound bites that they can mine from this shit.
Right.
On the other hand, Jesse DeBody Ventura got elected to public office, and he made
Arnold
Predator.
Schwarzenegger.
So
yeah. John from St. Louis says, I just want to start with, I hated the entire episode. From the contrived plot devices to get as many main characters as possible out of Alexandria and in front of Negan to the BS cliffhanger. Here's my vote as to who gets the bat and why the writers did what they did. It's Eugene. The writers made a point to show him giving Rick the plans to make ammunition. Then he stepped up to drive the RV into the Saviors, letting the rest of the group go. He got closure in form of respect from Abraham. If they kill Eugene, the cliffhanger makes more sense too. If Eugene gets the bat, the emotional impact is not as strong as if Glenn or another character we care more about gets it. I think a lot of people would think it was a cop-out and would be upset if they didn't have the balls to kill a main character. How do they get around this? So he's speculating that it's Eugene and then saying it would suck and nobody would like it. So yeah, I don't think they're going to kill Eugene.
no, I mean that'd be gutless. It's certainly something they can do, but
right. And it seems like they set him up for that, but I do agree it wouldn't be as impactful as some of the other characters. Brady C. I think I've worked out who gets the bat. I was thinking about the whole POV thing, realized that the person Negan kills was looking straight at him as he walked up to them and smashed in their skull. If you go back and watch, you'll notice that as he's doing his eeny, meeny, miny, mo, most of the characters are looking straight at him, but as the scene goes on, they all end up looking away from him, save for two, Maggie and Abraham. Now, Maggie clearly has her hair going over her eyes in the final shot of her before we cut to the POV, and as the writers went to such trouble to show the cheesy blood stream flowing down the person's vision, then surely that vision would have been obscured if they had hair in front of their eyes. Abraham has absolutely no hair covering his eyes, spends the whole time looking straight at Negan in the two shots they show of him. He thinks it's going to be Abraham. What do you think about that analysis? No hair in the eyes, no hair on the camera.
This show can't tell if it's raining or sun shining or dark, so I don't think that the hair is going to be a... You know, I mean, come on,
I'm entertaining
man.
all comers.
Are you expecting like a big mop of black hair cover the lens? Like,
right.
that would be a dead giveaway.
What if it was blonde hair? A mop of blonde hair. No one there has blonde hair.
It's Zombie Beth. He's doing the world a favor. I don't know. No, I don't find that as compelling as the other line's argument.
Okay.
And also ignores the masculinity of the he, which I thought I heard he. Now she's saying it. Or
maybe.
They, or what do you say? They took it like a champ.
I want to say just left off the pronoun on that. Just
took it like a champ.
I'm not sure though.
Or he said like look at him. I don't know. I thought I heard the he or him, but I could be wrong.
Ed W says take Daryl off the Meatloaf head list. In these set photos, he has a wound on his shoulder, and as cheap as AMC is, they wouldn't spend $1 on makeup they didn't need. So he links me to a picture of
what
of Eugene
is this going
of I don't know Eugene's the actor's name.
Michael Clark Duncan.
No, God no. Of Eugene like threatening to lick the back wound of a bandaged or a stitched up Norman Reedus.
Okay.
So there are stitches in the wound, which implies this is after the fact that he's been shot. So likely it's not Daryl. Likely it's not Eugene.
Why?
Because they were filmed on set, I guess. I don't know. Because
I mean, are you postulating that Negan wouldn't treat a guy until he's convinced of who he's going to kill? I don't think that's true.
I don't know.
Maybe Norman Reedus insisted on getting shot, really, as a method acting thing. And that was a real stitch from Georgia General Hospital.
Maybe he got shot. Okay. Harry is telling it to the contrary here. I have this theory on a few reasons why I think Daryl got the bat. And he doesn't think he's heard this anywhere yet. We'll be the judge of that. We've heard them all. Everyone wants to find clues in the last scene of the last episode, but I think the real clues come from episode 606. In this episode, I'm sure there might be a lot of clues, but 2 big ones stick out to me. The scene where Daryl lies beside the zombie biker and literally strikes a Jeebus on the cross pose. Lots of symbolism with the Jesus imagery, but this is the cross pose represents sacrifice. Someone dying by Negan so all the others can live. Sure sounds like a sacrifice to me. This might be reaching, but watch it again, and it seems like they're really trying to say something with that scene. Other foreshadowing is also seen when we catch a few scenes of Daryl vision in first person. At the end of the season, one of the scenes from Daryl vision is actually him getting his head smashed in with a stick from Dwight. He's talking back in 606. I believe the first person view has not been used much, if at all, by Walking Dead, and we get a lot of Daryl vision in this episode. So those are his two main 606 takes. He thinks those are interesting. Well,
Daryl's definitely in my top. Like, if I could lay odds, they would definitely be the odds.
Oh, I know.
The odds on a leader.
Talking about it for a while now.
Uh-huh.
And it is season 6, and knowing that Daryl was a guest star in season 1 and not part of the regular cast.
And now he's if he
that's
signed,
a 5-year period.
That's a lot of assumptions I've realized over the years, that you assume that he signed a standard 5-year contract. And,
sure, yeah.
It's
really only one big assumption.
It would definitely be something that would shut the fans up for a bit.
Yeah. I don't know. He also says Daryl's death moves the plot the most. What do you think about that?
How?
Okay, his justification. Dwight has fucked Daryl a bunch of times, but knows his life was still saved by him in the end.
Oh, so that would actually fuck up. Are we in the spoiler section?
Not yet. But he thinks this would make Dwight feel kind of guilty about letting Daryl get killed and being the cause of that, you know?
Okay. The other thing, I guess, of moving the plot is that Daryl's kind of a crutch for the group.
In some ways, yeah.
And that killing him off would eliminate that.
Yeah. But that was, in fact, the last speculation on who it's going to be. I had to skip a lot of this stuff and cut even more of it, but hopefully I got enough takes, enough diversity in there to really confuse the issue and have nobody be sure of anything going into season 7.
Yes.
Because I'm on board with the strategy of the writers and producers of this show.
Sure.
That's it for the non-spoiler stuff. I think we are going to have, a decent sized spoiler section to where we can kind of speculate a little bit more, talk about some of the upcoming stuff, answer some questions. But I do want to do a little bit of a few announcements before we get going here. This is going to be our last show for the season, and we're not actually going to be doing any coverage of Fear the Walking Dead. We decided last year it sucked. We hate it. So we're not going to cover it. We did do a live watch of the first episode.
For club members, yeah.
Are we doing a live watch of the second episode?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
We've just decided now. That's it.
It was fun to do, but
that first episode was terrible of the second season.
Yeah.
I hated every second of it, so whatever. Episode 2 of The Walking Dead Michonne just released last week for club members. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go get it.
And if you're on the fence about whether it's worth $1 or $2 to join the club, we do have complete playthroughs of the whole 2 seasons, the previous 2 seasons.
Right.
Around Lee and Clementine. This is
do a search for Telltale on the website, and you'll get all of that stuff.
Or you go to YouTube. You go to youtube.com/baldmove, and it's in a playlist.
That's true. So yeah, go check that out. See if you want to sign up for the club for that.
I mean, that's like 15 hours of content. If that's not enough to decide whether you want a couple more.
And some of our really good stuff too. I think it's real fun.
Yeah, I think it's definitely some of the funnier stuff we've done.
Some announcements on stuff that is coming up, or we are currently airing. You and Cecily are doing coverage of Banshee on the Bald Move TV podcast right now.
It's the final season. We're 2 episodes in. Not too late to jump on board if you're a Banshee fan.
2 episodes left of Better Call Saul coming up in the next two weeks, tomorrow and the finale. Game of Thrones preview cast coming out next Tuesday in preparation for season 6 of that.
So if you got to take on that, Game of Thrones at baldmove.com, get it in.
And Penny Dreadful is starting up May 1st. I think you and Cecily are also covering that.
Yes, we are.
So
we've lost our damn minds.
A lot of freaking stuff happening on baldmove.com. Go check it all out. And if you want spoiler stuff, stick with us until after the music. And if not, we will see you next year for what is sure to be a disappointing season premiere
Anticlimactic. I'm not going to say disappointing.
Okay.
It's got anticlimactic.
I don't know how they can deliver on the first few minutes of it, assuming they're coming back to right to where they left off. But
Sure.
we'll see. And until then, I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron. See ya.
And we're back with the spoiler section. I don't know if you have anything you want to talk about, but I got a bunch of emails to go
Well,
over.
I did want to say real quick about the thing about Dwight is that it's interesting because Dwight eventually turns traitor in the comics to Negan, and that's the kind of the genesis of his downfall from what I remember. And I kind of remember his reasons, and those were fairly good in the comic. But if you add the cosmic injustice of him knowingly letting a good man get beat to death for this guy, and then, you know, his facial scarring and how he got that and all that stuff, that would add depth to the decision of him. And maybe it simultaneously will make it harder for Rick to believe him, but also maybe ultimately easier to believe his turnabout. I don't know. That's my thought on that last email.
All right. Ernesto has a couple more predictions. His prediction is that Glenn will die. Here's why. When he got in the van to go with Michonne, he and Maggie shared a last look through the rearview mirror. The camera work, the music, all suggested tragedy. And some people will say the miscarriage is the tragedy. That's obviously what was happening. But losing Glenn and losing the baby brings about another plot line, and that is Maggie's attempted suicide. In the comics, she had adopted Sophia, and it's very apparent that Enid has fit into that slot. However, as we saw at the end of East, she was experiencing severe pains, and that's usually a sign of miscarriage. And even worse, the only medical help is now 6 feet under. So she loses the baby, her husband, perhaps memories of her father and her sister will come back to her. It'll all be too much. She'll succumb to the grief, and this could either be a very long season opener or a mid-season finale. He goes on, I know in the comic she becomes a leader of the Hilltop. They certainly showed a bit of that in the episode of the Hilltop, but I don't think there was enough yet to bring them back as a group. What do you think about that? The idea that this could drive Maggie's suicide.
So one thing I got from listening to the coverage that have actually women as a co-host is a lot of speculation about what's going on with Maggie's pregnancy. And, in the comics, Judith dies, little ass kicker. She's alive. In the comics, Judith dies. Maggie has her baby. Right?
Maggie has her baby?
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't know.
But anyway,
Ernesto said something about having adopted Sophia.
That is true as well. They've definitely worked that into the Enid role, right down to her having a little bit of a romance with Carl too. I wonder if having Judith around frees him up to give her do the miscarriage, which kind of makes me feel like maybe Glenn, unless they just really want to torture Maggie. Like, you lose your baby and your husband on the same night, and you are now a shell of yourself, and we're going to build you back up into a tough leader. And that's an interesting arc for her to go on.
Okay.
But it does seem like, man, that's really going to fuck with the fan base, in maybe a good way.
Yeah, and after the Glenn dumpster fire, I don't know.
Well, that's always going to, like I'm saying, like the only thing that saves the Glenn dumpster fire is if they don't actually kill. So you could see that as an ill-timed wink towards the fan base.
Yeah.
But man, something tells me it's going to be Glenn.
Yeah, it could totally be Glenn.
But that's my gut right now says Glenn gets beat to death.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
Because I don't have any real story reasons to beat Daryl to death now, except for it piss off the fan base, and Abraham would be the weak way to go. I think the non-gut check way to go. Eugene doesn't, I can't take that possibility seriously, and we've already eliminated all the others due to dialogue, which I buy into. So I don't know, man. What's your gut feeling tell you?
My gut feeling says they should go with Daryl. I don't know. I think it's still too soon after the Glenn debacle to make it Glenn and have the fans not kind of outraged by it.
But see that, man, I'm amazed
then
at how
again,
many
it's
people
the bandage theory.
Yeah,
You could just band-aid it and be done
Yeah.
with it, but then you fucked up one of the biggest moments in the comics, and you've done it in a way that insults fans even more because of the way you fucked up the half season 6A.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we really haven't in a macro step back and looked at how that has impacted the decision about who they kill now. Oof.
They're not in an enviable position.
No, they're in a way. I mean, in the space of 3 episodes, they went from how could they fail to how are they going to come back and make this not a fiasco.
Yeah, and they really didn't have to.
And it's entirely self-inflicted.
Sam and Marco Island, which I have no idea where Marco Island is.
Oh, it's along it's on the Gulf Coast in Florida.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, down by the Keys or more?
No,
inside
like
the
in the
Gulf?
middle, like it kind of down the middle of the penis, about halfway down.
Florida's a penis shape.
Well, I mean,
I thought it was like a gun shape, or
I always thought it's America's kind of weird looking penis.
Okay, sure. Sam from Penis Island says in the comics, the kingdom isn't introduced until after issue 100 when Jesus brings Rick and crew to meet Zeke. At that time, Ezekiel and Michonne start their back and forth, leading them to getting together. Do you think they're going to use Carol for that role now? Finally, in the comics, the next roughly 10 issues. Well, okay, answer that first. 'Cause he has a
That's
second
really good because I've been thinking, like, man, if Ezekiel fucks up my Rashon, I don't care how many tigers he's got. Fuck him.
So by back and forth, he means love triangle.
Oh no, because Michonne
Not a
and Rick are
triangle.
not in a
love,
triangle.
a love connection.
Yeah. But see, Michonne is kind of this. Michonne's love life in the comic books is a lot like Jillian Jacobs' love life in Love. It's just kind of flighty and lack of attachment, and
Like an Andrea sort of was in the show with the governor, just like kind of sleeping together, not like a real.
I mean, she's just like damaged goods, man. It's like you get too close to her and she runs off. That's my impression of her. But I don't know. Yeah, no, it would be interesting to pair Carol up with Zeke. Now, I know seems like there's a growing tension in the fan base, or like, why are we always talking about shipping characters? Why can't people just be?
That's what people talk about.
I know,
talk about
but
relationships.
It's kind of you're reducing your drama into and look, before you get offended, realize that this is how I see the world too. Like I am definitely a shipper, obviously,
yeah.
But I do sometimes wonder if we're turning our favorite shows into People Magazine and Us Weekly. Like,
well, it's not new.
That's the least interesting thing about these people. It's almost just like, oh, we just like when cute people get matched up together.
I mean, if you go from a surface level, sure. Like, if you want the beautiful people to be together and that makes you happy, right? But relationships are the core of...
The counterpoint is sex is important, and love and companionship. Those are...
Is shipping... So, explain to me what shipping actually is, because I hear the term all the time. I'm not a shipper myself. I don't concern myself overly with who's going to bone.
All right.
Is that all shipping is, or is it actually the relationship?
No, it's a relation. Yes, I mean it's a lot. I mean that's like asking the difference between like a rom-com and porno. I mean, I guess it's the focus of your attention and what.
What are the shippers normally focused on? The boning or the actual emotional connections between these people?
It's different in each show,
okay.
and sometimes it's
right.
like I feel like that X-Files fans, if you're a shipper of Mulder and Scully. A great majority of them was just kind of like let them bone, but there's also
that's appropriate because they already have that very strong there is no other thing to argue about.
But there's also
connected.
You just want to see like them hug each other and say I love you and kiss and like sleep in the same bed, like be mommy and daddy too. Like okay. I don't know. It's probably different for each person, but there's definitely both of those aspects are there.
Okay,
when you're shipping.
Well, we'll see how they handle that. I don't know. We have some other interesting Ezekiel comments, too.
Okay.
But Sam continues on. Finally, in the comics, the next roughly 10 issues after 100, there's a whole lot of nothing going on other than the kingdom. Do you think they will fuck up the first half of Season 7 worse than 6 with the lack of much in the comics? Or is it possibly why they did this bullshit cliffhanger to kind of push some of the action into Season 7?
I didn't think that the stuff in there was bullshit. Like the early stages before you get the interwar period between Glenn getting his brains beat out and the actual all-out war, I thought that was super interesting. And I guess I got to see the kingdom, and I got to see their interpretation of Ezekiel, because it's kind of like you had to see Michonne before you knew that was going to work, and it didn't work for some people.
Yeah, that shocks me.
But yeah, I feel like that's whether the kingdom is cool and interesting in a way that I thought the Hilltop was. Like, I see the Hilltop, I'm like, oh shit, they got a blacksmith, they got crops, like they're in this weird ass hotel thing. Like, I'm wanting to know more about that. If I come to the kingdom, and like, how are they going to deal his affectation with this King Arthur shit, and is that going to be funny? Is that going to be weird? Is that I've told you about this.
Man, the spoiler stuff doesn't stick with me, because I just I half don't want to know it like at all, so I can just be surprised and enjoy it.
And it feels like they are surprisingly going there, because these Vanguard guys, or Outriders you'd call them,
right?
They look exactly like the knights in Ezekiel's court. So,
all right, let's move on to Sean from Raleigh, North Carolina, because he has some comments about this. I've read forums and reviews, listened to your podcast, and not seen or heard anyone mention this as a possibility. Neither have I. I've looked all over the place. Can't find anything about this. So you may have a unique take, Sean. In the very beginning of the finale, they show the feet of the random injured savior tracking Carol. Mm-hmm. He distinctly walks past 2 horseshoe prints, which I assume he's using to find Carol. And then he walks by a much larger footprint that appears to be heading in the opposite direction of where he's walking. Could this larger footprint be that of Ezekiel's tiger?
Oh, shit. I feel like I should go back and get a freeze frame of that.
Because I remember in the live watch, I was like, oh, that's a bear footprint or whatever. There's a bear behind you, Carol. Watch out. I didn't even connect it to the tiger. And that makes perfect sense, though.
Well, so that's kind of exciting that they're going on the full-blown Ezekiel treatment.
Right, and I like that little touch of them nodding to the... Like, confusing the shit out of the watchers.
Who is the guy that's at the Walking Dead cons? He's like this tall, good-looking, older middle-aged black gentleman with crazy long silver dreadlocks. Was he the guy that played...
The guy who does the voice in... fucking... The voice of Lee?
Is that who he is?
In Telltale? I think so.
Because he physically looks exactly like the depiction of Ezekiel in the comic books.
Yeah.
And it would make me super happy if they just casted that fucker to be Ezekiel. Like, done deal.
That'd be cool.
Just have him show up on set.
I couldn't not hear Lee, though, every time he opens his mouth.
I think that's fine.
He has to have Clem. Maybe he names his tiger Clem.
I think that would be like I've often wondered if Kirkman, because which came first, like the concept art for The Walking Dead or the comic the comic character, because the fact that they cast a guy the voice of Lee that looks exactly like Ezekiel from The Walking Dead is a epic coincidence.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there was some synergy there going one way or the other.
Yep. But I don't know, Sean, your comments have me excited about Full On Tiger in this series. We have some show spoilers here that I'm going to leave to the end because people seem to not like those. Mm-hmm. So we're going on to... I'm convinced that the listeners are trolling me and they're trying to get me to say more and more ridiculous names.
David Finoy is the guy's name.
Yes, that's his name. Yeah. He does a lot of voice work, actually. I don't know if he's done any actual like on-screen
Apparently
acting.
this has been remarked by almost everyone. I just did some Googling and everyone's saying he should totally play Ezekiel in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shawnee Wan Kenobi. Trying to get me to pronounce ridiculous names. So the first person POV shot that kept popping up throughout the episode tells us that Negan killed Glenn, Daryl, Michonne, or Rosita, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that's just poor filmmaking. This mysterious first-person shot, from what we find out later, is the interior of the van, and then the first-person shot of being beaten to death links one of the 4 characters with the barbed wire bat. So of the 4, who gets it? Michonne? Maybe. It'd be interesting, but I like her. I feel like her story isn't over. I don't think Negan would kill a woman for shock and awe. And that's one of the things we refuse to talk about in the non-spoiler section is his stance on not killing women.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess that's part of his thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
He
have.
prefers not to.
That seems right, but it's been
Okay.
years since I've read the comic lines, and that's not something that stuck out in my head.
Fair. So he goes on Rosita, possibly, but that doesn't have much of an impact. And I feel like her character is finally getting some meaty screen time.
And the same objection you had before.
Exactly. Is it Glenn or Daryl? And I have to go with Glenn. Dwight, spoilers. Here we go. Dwight turns on Negan during All Out War and helps Rick. Daryl saved Dwight, and somebody brought that up. Brought up that possibility. The Dwight shot Daryl so that Negan wouldn't beat him to death, thus returning the favor. I think it's a good theory, and I buy it. So he's on the same train with the Dwight.
So he's saying
thing.
I intentionally wounded you so you won't be healthy enough to kill.
Yeah, he's on that train. I don't buy that, but
interesting. Okay.
He's saying so he doesn't think it'll be Daryl. He does too much business for AMC. Glenn is popular, but he doesn't sell video games or posters. And at the end of the day, Glenn is who gets killed in canon. So he's got his money on Glenn.
Yeah, I feel like that's essentially my take on it too.
Okay. Let's see. We've got Devin who also invokes the POV theory of the linkage of those four characters. In the final POV van shot when the doors are open, you can see Daryl's head at the side of the screen, so it's not him either. That's what Devin's saying.
What? Say that again.
In that final POV shot inside the van, when the doors are open, you can actually see Daryl's head at the side of the screen. So he's not the POV.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And that's the shakiest of the foundations for any kind of analysis because it's really hard to say. And
Devin goes on, that being said, this is a show where the Earth makes a half rotation in the time it takes Rick to run 2 blocks. So I don't know if editing continuities can be credible. And Devin thinks it comes down to Glenn and Michonne. Rosita would be no impact. Using comic logic spoilers, I think it could honestly go to either of these two characters. Glenn gets it in the comics, so there's that. I know that Negan in the comics apparently doesn't like to kill women, which a lot of people are saying protects the women in the group. But correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Negan kill one of the women in the comics because he thinks she's Rick's love interest? Is that what happens,
true.
Andrea?
That is definitely... well, he thinks it's Andrea, but he's got some other...
Rando Alexandria.
Blonde-headed, whose name is Holly, I think?
Okay.
Seems like. And I wonder how they're going to square that round peg, because that seemed like a really interesting thing, and that I know there has been previous discussions this season of like someone saying, could Sasha get mixed up in there?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, because that's the thing. It's like, you know, Rick's dating a black woman,
right?
And
if you
there's only
if you
one
squint
other one
your eyes and turn around and not look at the two characters, maybe they look similar.
Sure, if Michonne shaves or says like, okay, I'll sign up for another season, but I got to get rid of this wig. You got to let me rock my natural crew cut or whatever you call it.
Yeah,
that would be a little bit more understandable because it's like, get the one with the hair. Not the one with the and you know what I mean. I don't know. I guess that's a way to do it, and that would also do interesting things to Abraham and Rick's relationship.
But that's not till later down the road, right? That doesn't have anything to do with this scene.
If they get in the all out war any more than like the opening salvo by next season, I'll eat my hat.
Okay. Matt S. says, I wanted to follow up my email from Sunday. It turns out the Gimbel's idiotic explanation enraged my wife into labor. Our son was born the next day, so at least the cliffhanger was good for something. I'm not sure.
Please tell me his middle name's Gimple. You gotta give tribute, man. The guy knocked something loose. The least you can do is a middle name. Scott for a middle name?
I don't have that info here.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is considered a spoiler. It's been a while since I've read all the all-out war storyline, but from what I remember, the Savior forces primarily consisted of melee weapons and not many guns. This led to a lot of creative poisoned weapons from the Saviors. Do you think the show will bother with this since guns play better on TV?
They fucking better because that's an awesome thing that they did.
Is it? All right.
So what they do is the Saviors use arrows and spears that they've dipped into zombie guts.
Oh, nice. And it zombifies people?
Well, and they're just treating for wounds, and then they're in the hospital in the middle of the night. You got zombies breaking loose and causing chaos. It's fucking rad. Like,
nice.
No, that's an easy thing to do, and it's awesome. So yes, they should do it.
Yeah. I can get behind that. That's all we have for spoilers.
Okay.
This was a mega cast, but
yes.
I feel like it was warranted after the literally hundreds of emails that poured in. So I don't know. I still, after all this deliberation, I have no idea where I stand as far as who's going to get the bat. Honestly, don't know if I care. They've annoyed me to the point where
that's the sad thing.
I'm not going to speculate, honestly.
Because, and that's the thing, it's like, if they hadn't done the Glenn Dumpster thing, I would really genuinely be involved in the guessing game.
Yeah.
Although, but that's the whole time we've been discussing this, I'm thinking, God, we're going to be another data point in their cynical decision on who to kill.
Right. You
know?
And ultimately, it would be impossible for us to have a wrap-up cast without falling into that trap. As podcasters, as
it's the whole thing with the
whatever
media,
kind
where
of
people
representative
they're like, why are you covering the latest crazy thing in politics, or why do you cover it's like, well, you can't.
How do you not?
You're supposed to.
It sucks, but
like you could face such a penalty if you're the first person that decides, I'm not going to do this anymore.
And I mean, look, I dipped in the mailbag. I took a reading of the crowd's temperament here, and clearly everyone wanted to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we're bringing our own agenda to this. This is what the community is talking about, and this is by design. Take that for what you will. If you love it, if you hate it, whatever. It's part of the game, and I guess we are a part of it as well.
Did you just quote Omar Little in defense of the Walking, in defense of our podcast?
Not on purpose, did I?
It's all in the game, yo.
Oh. No, not purposefully.
It's all in the game, Gimple. You got the typewriter, I got the microphone.
All right, well, that's it. We're going to wrap this up and be back next year, I guess. So we'll see you guys then.
Yep.